Hello and good morning. This is the Breville Infuser model BES840 that I'm selling. As you saw in the photos, this is a very clean unit. This was a trade-in. I recently got this in from a customer who upgraded to the Breville Barista Pro and gave me this. I actually had to refurbish it, had to fix and clean a couple of things. Nothing too major though. So on the outside, the machine has a few scratches around the front. Here mainly where the cup goes in and out, a few around the back plate, but no big dents or big scratches on the left or right hand side or the front actually that I could see. So just minor wear and tear, I would say. I'm also going to give it a good clean after this video. Internally, what I had to do is I had to clean the inline water filter just to free up a bit more pressure for the pump. I had to change 7 O-rings, so 7 seals on the pipes. Just as a preventative maintenance. It wasn't leaking or anything. I just changed those every couple of years as a safety measure. The machine holds perfect pressure at full pressure, 0 leaks. It goes to the full pressure, no problems. Even the steam one, if you block it, no steam leaks at all from any of the steam lines. And I'm also going to do the cleaning cycle after this video. So machine is basically working like new, ready for its new home. Right, how do I make coffee? So I like to begin with a blank shot. Today I'm going to be making my morning latte. So I'm going to be testing both the steamer and the brewing for you. But anyway, whatever coffee you choose to make, I highly recommend you start with a blank shot. So that's a shot of hot water, or basically just a shot without any coffee. I'm currently using the double basket. This is the pressurized basket. Your machine also comes with a single basket. The pressurized baskets are easier to use than unpressurized baskets. They will create more even pressure and give you more crema, but they're a bit harder to clean. So if you are happy with these, I would stay with these, honestly, especially if you're buying your coffee pre-ground or you're using cheap, less than standard coffees. But in the future, if you get a really good grinder, you can probably upgrade to the single wall baskets, and see how that's like. Anyway, let's do the blank shot. So we'll do the double button. That's the single button for you. I'm also going to test the double button. Sorry, that's the double. I'm going to test the single button. I'm going to use my other machine to grind some coffee for us. .5 grams. That's all. That's pretty much what I was aiming for. All right. With that done, you can now start grinding your coffee or take out the portafilter to dry it out. We'll do that now. Make sure you dry it as much as possible before you put the ground coffee in. So this is 17.5 grams. Gonna try to not make a mess. In fact, I'll just use my hands. Whatever grinder you choose, I highly recommend you get one with a collar of some sort, or a what do you call it? The grinding cradle. so you can grind directly into the port filter and avoid having to do this mess that I'm doing here. Lots of messes being made at the moment here on the bench top, but we've got a vacuum cleaner, that's fine. Okay. Once I've got my coffee in there, I'm going to spread it around with my hand. And then I'm going to press it nice and firmly with the tamper. This is actually about, I would say, 16 grams, 17, 16 and a half, because I spilt some on the countertop. So yeah, 16.5 to 17 is what it looks like in here. Yep, that's 16.5. Cool. If you have a scale, you can use the scale. If you don't, that's fine. All I can tell you is that you don't need a scale to make coffee. You can just like fill it all the way with so with the ground coffee, and then scrape off with your finger just like that, and then press. Hopefully, if you have a grinder with selection of seconds, you can select the perfect amount so you don't have to waste any coffee. But yeah, basically it should be up to the brim before you press it down. And then once you press it down nice and firm, it should be the same depth as the silver part on the tamper. So this should correspond to the correct depth for the correct dose. So just like that, the silver part disappears when I've got the correct amount of coffee pressed in. If you can still see some of the silver, that's too much coffee, and I would take some off. If this goes all the way deep into the basket, that's too little coffee, and I would give it a little bit more. It should be this depth, basically. You don't have to be perfect with your tamp, but try to tamp it nice and firmly, and try to get roughly 16.5 grams at least. Clean the edges, lock it in. I forgot to say you also have a hot water tap. So the hot water spout, if you rotate the spine, gives you clean hot water straight from the boiler. Yeah, it's pretty hot. It's about 80 degrees Celsius. You can also do the same with the grip head, but the grip head could sometimes have loose coffee or coffee taste to it if you don't want that. So some people use this hot water tap for tea bags, for warming up their drinks. I personally use it to add a little bit of hot water to my cup, because I add a little bit of sugar sometimes, and sugar needs to dissolve. So the hot water helps it dissolve. Whatever you add to your coffee, add it now before you make the coffee, so that when the coffee pours down, it mixes nicely with whatever flavor you've added. Sweetener, sugar, syrups, etc. Awesome. Now, what I'll do is I'll show you how to program one of the buttons. So the buttons are programmable. This will give you about 60 mils of water, I think. So it'll give you about 100 mils of water. From experience, if I press this, it'll give me too much coffee. If I press this, it'll probably give me too little coffee. If you want to change your buttons to whatever length you like, you can press the program button, then the button you want to program, and then it will make coffee, and then you stop it when you're happy with that volume. Because it's a double wall basket, I'm going to try to use the single button actually. I'm not going to reprogram anything for you, just to have a look at what it gives us. From memory, this will give me about 60 mils of coffee, which is too much. I want a 2-to-1 ratio. So espresso usually is measured in ratios. I like to brew in a 2-to-1 ratio. That means for every gram I grind, I want 2 grams out into the cup. So we ground 16.5 grams. We want about 16.5 times 2 in the cup. So that's about 33, 34. So anything in the 30s is fine for me. So 31 to 38 is probably going to be good enough. It doesn't have to be a science. It doesn't have to be perfect. As long as it's roughly in the range, it should taste good. Again, coffee is like an art, it's not a science experiment, so bit of deviation here and there doesn't hurt. Anyway, I want my 35-gram shot to pour in about 25 seconds. If you make coffee and your shots are pouring in 10 seconds, that's way too quick. They need to slow down to about 20 to 30 seconds for optimal flavors. If your shot takes a whole minute to pour, so in 1 minute you get 35 grams, that's too little. Sorry, that's too long. Too long of a time, too little of a grind size. If you have a grinder with adjustable grind size, you can change the size larger to speed up your shots. If you want to slow down your shots, you just grind finer. That's the basics of espresso. You also have a pressure gauge, which is handy, but I like to go by time and weight because it's more reliable. But generally, anything in the gray zone should be good. So anything from 10 o'clock to 1 o'clock is good. Sometimes a little bit more if you have really good coffee, really fresh. Cool. Without much talking, let's make some coffee. And then as it's pouring, keep an eye on the flow, how it's pouring out. Keep an eye on the gauge. And I'm also going to time it with my scale here. So we measured the input with the scale. Let's measure the output as well, and let's time it. So we'll do the single button. Oh, okay. As I expected. That's 15 seconds. The single button gave me too little coffee. Okay. So if we had it go for another 5 seconds or so, it would have given us hopefully in the 30s. So let's try that. That's 20 seconds. $32 grams. I'm pretty happy with that. Ideally, you want your coffee to run in one go, so you don't want it to go stop then go again. Reason is that when you stop the coffee, some of that pressure gets released up into the valve, into the machine, so it disrupts the coffee bed, let's say. So it's not optimal for flavors and extraction. But this is what we have. I'm not going to make another coffee, but at least now you know that if you make coffee with a single button, it'll probably be very concentrated, very small dose. If you do with the double button, from my experience, it'll give you too much. So we can try that again now with old used coffee grounds. But if you try it again now, it'll give me probably 50 or 60 mils, which is too much. So if you ever want to change it, you press the program button, then you press the button you want to program. Let's try that now, actually. Doesn't hurt. I've got a bit of time on my hands. So I'll show you how long the double button goes for. That went for about 30 seconds, 25 seconds. So time is good, but let's see what we got in that time. Geez, we got 75 grams of coffee. Not good. So this will give us 18, this will give us 75. We want it to be somewhere in between. We'll have to reprogram this button, and I'll show you how to do that. The coffee we got here is not drinkable. It's just old loose coffee, old ground coffee from the shot we made before. So I'll chuck that in a bit. And I'll keep the beans in just to give us similar pressures when we make coffee, but I'll keep whatever in there, and then I'll reprogram the button with the same sort of coffee pressures, etc. Hopefully it should be similar when you make actual coffee next time. If not, you know how to program it, you know. So I'm going to press the program, then the button itself. Still not ideal. Okay, I'll do it one more time. That's 40 mils. I'll leave it there. I'm pretty happy with that. Should be good enough for now. Anyway, that took too long. I'm sorry to keep the video long, but let's steam some milk. Put this aside. I'll turn on the steam. I'll go grab some milk. It'll take about 10 seconds to start steaming. When you hear the pump pulsating or pumping, that means the steam pressure has started. And then it gets a little bit stronger over the course of the next 5 seconds. There we go, that's full pressure. Turn it off. Position my jug. It'll give me about 5 seconds before it resets to espresso mode. There we go. So the trick to this is to position the wand at an angle, keep the milk spinning, and keep the tip of the wand close to the surface of the milk, so that it injects a bit of air into the milk itself. The longer you stay closer to the surface of the milk, the more air you'll get, the more frothy the milk will be. If you dunk it deeper into the milk, if you dunk it deeper into the milk, it'll be less foamy, more thin. So it's really up to you to modulate how deep you want to go and how much froth you get. And when it's still hot to the touch, I'll turn it off. All done. Give it a good flush. Give it a good purge. I forgot to say, once you finish your milk, give it a good purge by turning it on for a few seconds. Just to purge, that's it. Just a couple seconds of water or steam will clean up that hole, prevent blockages. If you don't do this, you wake up the next morning or 2 days later, you try to make coffee and it doesn't work because there's a clot of milk blocking the hole. So just that purge will help you. But also, you can use it's a little trick. You use the hot water tap to soften the milk to clean the outside of the wand as well. and then grab a towel, give it a good scrub, and it's nice and shiny for you. Very important to do this cleaning, otherwise not only does it look ugly on the outside, it'll be really hard to remove because the milk will get harder and harder and form like a little crust layer on the outside. It's not fun for anyone. We've cleaned the group head, we've cleaned the machine, the wand. So the machine can be turned off now, you can make another coffee, it's up to you. Try to keep it clean as much as possible. I'm not gonna let the milk sit out for too long. Give the crema a good mix. Give the jug a good swirl. It looks like we've given it too much foam. The milk is super thick, which could be a good thing. We can call this a cappuccino versus a latte. But yeah, just keep it swirled to mix up the layers, and then if there's any big air bubbles, just knock it on the counter to break them. To break the big air bubbles, and then when it's nice and smooth on the outside, sorry, on top, that's when you're ready to pour. That's one latte. Give it a wipe. It's a lot of foam, it's about 2 centimeters of foam. Quickly show you what we got. And that's a latte on your Breville Infuser. Hope you enjoy. If you have any questions or queries, please don't hesitate. I'm sure you can make even better latte art and coffees with some skill and training. So yeah, I look forward to meeting you, and thanks again for watching. Cheers.